In today's webinar, we're going to talk about membership. So we're going to talk about configuring memberships, how to configure the membership types, benefit types, and then apply them to records. So we're going to talk about how to add memberships to someone's record, how to renew them, how to change them, how to cancel them, and how to void them. And a little bit of the theory behind memberships and a little bit of reporting at the end. So to start off, we have a little bit of configuration we need to do. So we're going to go to Membership Management, Configure. And the first thing we decide is about numbers, membership numbers. So we have two ways we can handle membership numbers. We can manually enter membership numbers as we enter memberships. So this option also means if you don't want to bother with memberships, you can use that. Generate numbers manually will be the default. Generally speaking though, I like to recommend using membership numbers because they give you an extra way to look someone up. So if you know someone's membership number, you can look up their membership. If you're not too concerned about membership numbers, there's no harm in turning it on. If you've used membership numbers previously to Nonprofit Easy, what I would recommend doing is actually keeping it off for the time being, enter any past memberships, assign numbers manually, and then turn it on. And then wherever you left off, that's where you have the system start. So if you had 100 memberships, they're all now in Nonprofit Easy, you'd start at 101. So you just put your start number. Sometimes people like to have a string, which is basically letters and numbers, at the beginning or the end of the membership. So sometimes it might be your acronym. So NPE might be the string you put at the beginning to help people kind of remember what this number is. So NPE 101 might be your membership number, or NPE 1262, so on and so forth. You can also put a string of numbers or letters, alphanumeric characters at the end. So you basically can decide if you put the string at the beginning or the end. This can help people to remember it. Next, under what conditions would a membership number renew, or would a new membership number be generated? So either on renewal, upgrade, downgrade, or upgrade, downgrade of pricing category, which we'll talk about later. Generally speaking, if you're working with membership numbers, the greatest benefit is that they're consistent. They're a good way to look people up. So you probably don't want to have your membership numbers change. But maybe membership numbers are used for a different purpose at your organization, in which case maybe you do want them to change every time someone renews. So these options will let you specify when a membership number would change. Below membership number is what happens on an upgrade or a downgrade. The first choice is if you're upgrading or downgrading specifically to another membership that has a different price, then what do we do with any of your unused portion of your current membership? Better example. If we're only halfway through your membership, so you got a year membership and you've renewed it in say June, or you've changed it to a new membership type in June, what do we do with the portion of your old membership that you haven't used yet? You have 6 months worth of a membership, your old membership, that has not been used. So we can mark apply the unused portion to the membership dues of the new membership. So if the membership is $100 and we've only used half of that membership, $50 would remain unused and can be applied towards the new membership type, the changed type. So if that membership was a downgrade and was only $50, you've basically, allowed them to, take the 6 months they had and extend it to another full year, kind of for our example. This is in the benefit of the member, although this, if you don't check this, it's in your financial benefit. But we're going to want to consider some customer service on this one. Next is keep the new membership renewal date the same as the old one. So this means if I change my membership halfway through the year, in fact, my membership renewal date will remain the same. So if I normally renew on the first of the year and I've gone only halfway through, instead of having it renew now in June, it now continues to renew in January. So basically this lets them keep a consistent date even if they change their membership type. Okay, so any questions on this page? this configuration page. Generally speaking, the only thing you really need to worry about is turning on auto numbering or not, and whether or not you want to apply the unused portion. Okay. Another item on this in configuration is benefit types. We're going to use them a little bit later. But what benefit types are items, usually items, but any benefit that a person receives, generally with a financial value, that may reduce the tax deductibility of their membership. Now, it could just represent something they get. So maybe they simply get a perk that doesn't reduce their tax deductibility, in which case there is no unit cost. So some of the items may not have a cost. But what this is going to come into play is so that we can start adding these benefits to a membership, and it will help reduce their taxability value and keep your records clean. So we're going to come back to benefit types when we actually create a membership. Although I do want to back up really briefly. And there's a question of sometimes you will not have this option. So I believe if you've already started using memberships, then this option will no longer be available. So I think this is a membership. No, where does this one come into play? You know what? I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm not entirely certain why you don't have this option. And I've seen that in a couple of cases where I didn't have this option. I'm gonna double check with the team. So I'll update the, when I put the webinar up, when I get an update, I'll put it into the webinar Zendesk page. Okay, and then benefit types, as I mentioned, is where you will configure the physical, tangible, or just general benefits that someone can receive. And then that's will let you apply them to one or more different membership types. And so we're going to come back to this. So now that we have this basic configuration down, our next step is to go to Manage Membership, Membership Management, Membership Management, Manage Membership. And on this page, we're going to talk about how to actually configure your memberships. So membership types represent effectively the types of memberships you have. Individual versus family versus corporate versus, what have you. Generally speaking, every membership type will have a unique set of benefits. If you have two memberships that are in all ways the same, except for cost. So for example, student versus adult. If the two memberships there gave you the same benefit, you both get access to, if you're a museum organization, you both get access to the museum, discounted price on an event, so on and so forth. All the same there. The only difference is that students, being students, get a discount, while adults, being regular folk, are not getting that discount. Then we would not create them as different membership types, but will in fact create pricing categories within a membership type. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So generally speaking, each of your membership types should have unique benefits from the others. Now that benefit might be just a subtle difference, like 10% off versus 25 versus 15% off. Usually the difference is a bit more than that, but they are distinct and different. So let's go ahead and go through the process of creating a membership. So we have no business memberships here. So let's create a business membership. Well, first thing we do is let's actually click the Add button. So Add will bring up the Add Edit Membership Type screen. So here we have it. Create Edit Membership. Our first choice is single membership versus group. This is an important first choice because once we set this, it cannot be changed. So single membership represents memberships that apply to one person or one organization and have no other individuals or organizations on that membership. So for example, our student membership would just be for a single student. But if you had a membership for a business, which is our example here, you may choose to extend it to the employees. So if it just belongs to the business and not the employees, it's a single membership. But if you want it to extend to the employees, you would make it a group membership. If you are creating a family membership, then you would create, it would be a group membership as well, because it's going to go into the record of the primary member, and then it will extend to the primary member's spouse, if applicable, and children, if applicable. And then we'll see that a little bit further down. So single, one person, group, many people. If you're uncertain, if you may make a membership in the later, a group membership, you can always create it as a group now and just treat it like a single, only ever apply it to one person. And then later you can expand it if need be. So you can always treat a group membership as a single membership. All right, next is our membership type. This is our name. So business. So spelled that right. So this is a business membership. It belongs to a company of some sort. You might call it corporate, what have you. Next, validity. Lifetime basically means they pay once, they're a lifetime member. You'll see that usually this will be like a high cost membership that's significantly higher than your annual or monthly membership. Next, besides that, we can do time specific in months. So for your annual memberships, you just put 12 months. For a monthly membership, you'd put 1 month. So let's say this is an annual membership. All right. Next, renewal conditions. And this is where things can get a little funny. Renewal conditions are telling you when does this membership renew. Set to NA, the membership will renew on the same day that you originally registered. So for example, if I registered my membership on the 29th of July, my membership will end on the 28th of July, and its renewal date will be the 29th of July for the next year. Some people prefer having all their membership renewals on a single day, specifically the beginning of the month. And so we can use beginning of month. So beginning of the month would have it renew on July 1st. Now, well, what happens with the fact that that's not on the 1st? They didn't register on the 1st. Well, that's where we get renewal attributes. None basically means they renew on the 1st and we don't do anything fancy. Prorated is when basically they pay for that extra. So with prorated, if they registered on the 29th of July, with prorated, they will renew on the 1st of August. Or I have that backwards? I always get that backwards. I have it backwards? Okay, my coworker's checking on that with me. I always get these two backwards. So we actually have, because as you can see, it can get confusing when you start mixing and matching our options, a document here that will cover all the options for you. Okay, so if you want to provide a discount. Okay, so this one basically will. Okay, yeah, so this one basically gives them a discount. And we'll have them renew on the 1st of the month. Yeah, so this will have them renew on the 1st of the month. Sorry for the confusion there. I was right. So prorated, beginning of month, will push their membership to the next month, while grace period will pull them back to the beginning of the current month. A lot of folk don't like bothering with this, totally up to you. But before you make your decision of whether or not you're going to go beginning of the year, beginning of quarter, beginning of year, of month, or other, which lets you specify a random date sometime in the year, I would recommend highly going through this document and all the examples. Okay. Sorry about the confusion on that one. Next is just like you might have with donations, programs, campaigns, account, classes. If you want to tie any of those to the membership so that every time you enter a membership for this membership type, it is always linked to a specific program, campaign, account, or class, you'll specify those here. So I'm not going to go into what those are, but I do have a fair number of tutorials and documentation on programs, classes, accounts, and campaigns. Next, membership will renew on the original renewal date if renewed within X many days of expiration, effectively. So this gives you a bit of leeway on when their new renewal will be. So if you want to make sure that if someone renews 2 days late, they still, count it as having renewed on the original date that they should have renewed, then you can specify that grace period here. Next, benefits. This is a descriptive field that is primarily used for your reference or on a public site implementation such as public pages. So if you want to have your memberships online, you can put the benefits that they'd receive in the benefits section and they will see what they get. So basically this is kind of a PR piece. So you can kind of sell your membership a bit. Next, and we're going to see how we do this later, if your membership has been gifted from one person to another, who gets the benefit? So I mentioned benefit types earlier as tangible things that people can receive. So who gets those tangible things? If, for example, you buy a membership, you get a calendar. Well, who gets the calendar? The primary member, i.e. the membership holder, or the giftor, i.e. the person who paid for the membership. So you can choose that here, but we can override it later. So this is just a default. Next, those benefit types that we created earlier, which of those does this membership have? So we can go ahead and click the selection button. Let's say that all these come into play, submit, and they will be listed here, and you specify how many they get and any comments that should go with it. So you get 1 cap, 1 t-shirt, and 2 gift cards worth $20. So this will in the end be $33 subtracted from the tax deductibility of the membership. And so you specify these here. When someone actually receives their membership, you can modify exactly what they get a little bit. This is just going to be basically your default. Okay. Do the benefits show up? Do these show up on the public pages? Do you mean the benefits? Or the benefit item types? That's a good question. Do they? I don't believe they do. So this is actually more for your reference. You'd end up listing them in the benefits section. So these don't actually show on the public site, but you'd want to make sure that you list them in your benefits details section up above. So this is what's going to show on your public site. This is backend. Okay. I had to think about that one for a second. All right. Next, pricing category. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. So for example, if you had 2 corporate membership types, you had one for corporations that are less than 1 million a year and one for businesses that are over 1 million a year in budget. For example, you might create those pricing categories under a single membership. Now, if those 2 memberships, those 2 pricing categories gave you different benefits, so maybe your $1 million and up budgeted companies actually get some extra benefits for being, bigger companies, then you have totally different membership types. However, if both those corporations get the same benefit, just different prices, then you'd create multiple. So single says we have 1 membership, 1 price. Multiple says that we have 1 membership, multiple prices. So what we do is, once again, if you're uncertain, if you maybe later you might break up your membership into 2 different categories, you can always use multiple and then just use only 1 category to start with. So it's the same as what we did above. If you're uncertain what you're going to do in the future, I mean, if you know for certain this, they'll never expand, then put it as single category. But if there's even the glimmer of chance that you might expand them later, I'd probably go with multiple in both cases, because you can always treat them like singles. So when we create a pricing category, we're going to put a membership cost over renewal cost. We're going to say the tax deductibility value as a default, whether or not we allow new memberships. So if you've got a membership that basically is being used to track old memberships, but you don't do that membership type anymore, then you'd unmark this and you would only have the people that currently have it. Same with renewals. Maybe you're not letting anyone renew at this level anymore. I've seen cases of that where people had one membership level for people who were with them for 1 year, thus new membership was pertinent but not renewal. And then for everybody after 1 year, there was a whole different membership type. A little messy, but it made sense for their organization. When you do multiple, we're just going to hit add and basically put the same information. So our pricing category, which would be something like under 1 million budget, budget. And then what's the membership cost? $1,000. What's the effective date? So when does this category come into play? So we'll talk more about this in a second, but this effective date basically lets you say from this date to this date, the membership was this price. From this date to this date, the membership was a different price. So if you ever change your prices, effective date's going to come into play. Renewal cost, if it's different from the initial membership cost, tax deductibility, so 100% for example. Do we allow new memberships? Do we allow renewals? Is this displayed on the public site? With single and multiple, we have promotion details. Single would have had this a little bit lower down, but since we did multiple, each one's going to have its own. This basically says, we're going to give our promotion some sort of code for our accounting and reference purposes and a value. So it's either taking off a fixed amount or a percentage, and then a start and an end date. And this is basically saying from this date to this date, this discount applies. So you may have a promotion that says register with us your membership between July 1st and July 31st, and you'll get $20 off your membership. Cool. This is not to be confused with discount codes, which are under configuration, which are effectively coupon codes. Someone's got a coupon code, and thank you. They've got a coupon code, and they enter their coupon code online, or you enter it on the back end for them, and they get a discount. And we'll see that where that actually starts coming into play a little bit. But this is for fixed promotions that everybody gets as long as they register their transaction of the membership. The membership transaction date is in that date range. So let's go ahead and save. Keep it simple. So now we have that one level. We can edit the renewal cost, the membership cost, or the renewal cost, any promotions, and all these other settings. So here, if we edit this, we could have said that the effective date of a new level, so maybe the prices go up. Now it's another $200, and this takes into effect on the 1st of August 2014, but it's still 100% tax deductible. So that's where the effective date comes into play. So it was 1,000. Starting on August 1st, it will be this amount. And so you can always post into the future. And yes, the question is, can you have multiple promotions for a single pricing point? Yes. So I could create a promotion that goes from July, so we can add multiple this way. So I could have one promotion going from, so let's actually create that. Let's just call this July 2014, and this is $20 off starting on the 1st of July, ending on the 31st. And this applies for both new memberships and renewals. And I'm going to add that. And then maybe I have a January 2015 code, which takes 25 off. And this is going to be applicable for January 1st, 2015. Till the end of that month. Add. So you can have multiple pricing promotions going for a single pricing category. Although I wouldn't, so there can only, I've never tried overlapping the dates. So I would probably recommend against it, only because that could also just be confusing. Let's try it. I've never tried it. Let's give it a whirl. Let's call this the summer promotion. And this is an extra let's do an extra $20 between June 1st and the end of August. So let's go ahead and see what that does. I've never tried it before. So now we actually have two that overlap. The system won't stop you, but I'm uncertain whether or not it's going to just take the first promotion or if it'll actually apply both. I suspect it will apply both, but we'll find out. Okay, close that up. It didn't work? Oh, okay. Did it apply just one of them, or did it just not do it at all? Just one. Okay, it probably just grabbed the first one on the list. Generally speaking, your promotions probably shouldn't overlap. Otherwise, what you'd probably do is if there was an overlap, that's its own promotion within, like, kind of sandwiched between the two that overlapped. So you might have like a summer promotion that has in the middle of July. So you'd have like summer 1, then you'd have July, which was a combination of the two, and then you'd have summer 2. That would probably be the workaround on that one. Like I said, for the most part, we've actually phased out. Oh yeah, I didn't say it. We've actually phased out those promotion codes for these discount codes, which can be applied for events, memberships, events and memberships. You wouldn't apply them to donations. So, which are actually coupons that someone can enter. Once again, though, they don't overlap. Okay. Moving down. Next thing, is it a recurring membership? So, generally speaking, if this is a membership that you'd ever want people to actually renew, you would say, yes, it is recurring. And then we get some choices. The first is, do I get a notification as an admin? Generally speaking, you probably want a notification. So notify an admin via email 1 month before, for example, the membership expires. So you'll get an email in the morning that says, these people are about to expire. Take action. Whatever, you might want to do something with them. So you get an email. We can specify a whole bunch of things here, even never, although I'm not sure. I'll tell you how you'd use that on the other one in a minute, but you probably wouldn't normally use that for this. But generally speaking, a month beforehand, you probably want as an admin to get an email. The template for this email is located, like most templates, under Configuration, right in front of me, Email Notifications. So in addition to the admin getting an email, you can also have the member get an email. And so we can say notify the member or the contact via email. Say how often, including never. And I'll tell you why you'd use never in a second. And then you make your template. So this is a template specific for this membership, and you get a handful of fields, including, the contact's name, what type of membership it is, when they registered, and when it's going to end. So you can make basically a little appeal letter here and say, hey, your membership's ending, please renew. You can contact us at this site or go online, etc., etc. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. If you're still in the process of writing your letter and haven't quite finalized it, that's where it never comes into play. So this way, it's still there, because if I turn this off, it's going to clear it. But if you just temporarily want to turn it off, you can set it to never, and that way you can finish, fine-tuning your letter without it actually sending out. Okay. I'm just going to uncheck that for the time being. All right. We're getting pretty close to the end here. So because we made this a group membership, well, hold on. So whether this is single or group, we are going to get the choice to whether or not this membership applies for individuals or whether or not it only applies to organizations. Or if you check both, then both. So in this case, this is a corporate membership. So an individual cannot have this membership. Only an organization can. So I'd uncheck that. Because I made this a group membership, under each of these items, I can specify who it extends to. So for example, I can say that this applies to 2 adults and 2 children. And we'll be able to specify who the adults and who the children are when we enter the membership. For the time being, I'm going to leave this blank. Or with organizations, that it goes to a specific number of employees or to all employees. So if you want your corporate membership to extend to all the employees, select all. If you want to limit it to maybe a small subset, because you might get big organizations and you want to encourage people to get their own memberships, you might say that it's only for 3 employees. Okay. There was a question, will admins get notified of every membership? Every membership that you mark as recurring, notify admin, and then specify a time frame other than never will get an email. So this is going to be per membership type. But yes, every membership. So what it does is it collects it in the at the morning when you get it into a single email. So you'll get an email with a list of names. Okay. Any other questions on this page? Okay, so let's actually go ahead and save and close. So now we have our membership all set up. And let's actually talk about how we add this membership. So most of the time, I'd probably say go to the contact record. That being said, for your first time members, the members who are not renewing, you can add it from here. But when you actually start renewing memberships, you will need to go into their record or use batch renewal. So let's start by actually going into a contact's record and adding it from there. So let's go find an individual who has no memberships. That shouldn't be too hard. All right. So a child Adam is going to be our new member. So we go into a child Adams record. And we're going to go to membership details. Because I've tinkered with my layout in this this system here, yours will probably be located maybe over here. So just so you know, if you ever want to change how things are laid out, you can go to configure layout and you can do that just once for in any individual contact, once in any org contact, and it will stick for all contacts for your user account. So it won't affect any other users in your system, just you. But it's a pretty good way to see what so you can see what you want, where you want, a bit more customizable. Anyway, so that's why mine's over here. So to add a membership, we're going to go to membership details and click the add button. And so we do this with anyone who's never been a member before. All right, so first thing we specify is the registration date. When does the membership start? So let's actually backdate. Let's say this was a year ago. Okay. Next is transaction date. You won't see this in too many other places in Nonprofit Easy. This is for promotion codes. So sometimes you'll have people whose membership isn't, they're not quite ready to start their membership, but they want to take advantage of a promotion. Maybe they're changing or renewing. So you'll set this as the date when the membership starts, and this for when the promotions should be counted for. We couldn't keep them the same. We had to separate them. But this is only used if you're doing anything with discount codes. If you're not really messing with discount codes, then just keep these the same. Generally speaking, they'll be roughly the same. But if you have anybody who's renewing or signing up earlier than their registration date, or the renewal date, then make sure the transaction date is the date they paid. Okay. Next, membership type. What are we signing up for? So here we have, family membership, which has domestic and international as two pricing categories. We have family plus one with, 2 categories. Or we just, good old individual. So let's use individual. Okay, so now we have individual. We can specify program or campaign. So if we want the money from this membership tied to a specific program, or we want to say it came from a specific campaign, we can do that. Membership number is auto-generated. If it was not, we can manually enter it here. Next, is it a gift membership? So did somebody else pay for this membership? If they did, we hit yes, and we say who paid for it. So we can either say it's an existing contact, individual or organization, or we can add an individual or an organization as appropriate. So let's not add a gift membership at this time. Lastly, next we can override the end date. So this membership lasts for 1 year. So it ends on the 31st of July this year, because it was from last year. So it looks like we have the, it's probably set up as with grace period beginning of month, which does push to the next month. My coworker confirmed it with me. She's awesome like that. So we can override that end date though. So if we want to give someone, like say, an extra month, we can do that by overriding the end date. And so their membership gets pushed back a month, or 2 months, or 3 days, or a year. Or we can pull it forward. Maybe they've wanted to only pay for part of a membership, depending on your situation. So we can override the end date. Next, we can override the tax deductibility. The tax deductibility is calculated based on the cost minus benefits. So this particular membership has $13 worth of benefits. Thus, $13 are subtracted from the tax deductibility. But if you, for some reason, for example, gave them something extra on the side or what have you, or then you can override the tax deductibility. Next is just some membership details. These are calculated for you. Notes is any notes you want to make about the membership, anything that you might find pertinent later. It will also, like with gift memos and special comments, end up in the special comments section. Okay. Next, what do we do with the benefits? Depending on how we configured our membership, it's going to default to primary or gifter. So if this was a gift membership, who gets the benefits? Gifter or primary? Next, did they choose to waive those benefits? Someone says, I don't want any of that stuff. Then you could say, yes, they waived it. In which case, their tax deductibility value would be the full $50. Now, the next section is for if you make any modifications to those benefits. So, for example, maybe he received 2 caps instead of the 1. So now his tax deductibility has gone down a little bit further. The next, when did you send out those benefits? So this is for your reference. So maybe you sent those benefits out on, the 16th. This is just so you know for your reference, did those get sent out? Oh, look, they did. Not everybody uses it, totally up to you. If you clear your membership benefits, you can either load the defaults, which you configured in the membership, or you can even add benefits from your list that may not be in the membership type itself. So if you gave this person a little extra bonus of gift cards, we could add those on individually. So maybe they received 1 gift card. Once again, reduces our tax deductibility value. All right. Lastly, promotions. None is probably what you're going to do in most cases. This means we're not doing anything fancy. Complimentary membership says, we gave this membership to the member as a gift, free of charge, gratis. So if you ever have a case where if someone makes a certain size donation, so they just donated $1,000 in the year, you get a complimentary membership with our museum, with our arts organization, with our music group, whatever where people, kind of things like that, where people actually want, might use their memberships as a gift like that. Then you can make it complimentary. Use this anytime you're giving away a membership. Not to be confused with setting a price override to $0. They're kind of the same, but not quite. So complimentary is free, gratis. You're giving away the membership as a gift. Price override means that you simply provided them some manually applied discount, separate from discount codes, separate from promotions on the membership itself. So if, for example, you made a deal with this person and said, hey, since you gave us that new computer, I'm going to give you a discount on your membership this year. So if HP, gave you some new computers, you might say, hey, you know what? You gave us a new computer. We're going to give you half off on your membership. So instead of being, $1,200, it's only going to be $600. You would do that with price override, and then specify a reason just for your reference. Okay, so we're not going to use any promotions at this time. So that's all the details about the membership itself. Any questions on this page before we talk about paying for the membership? Okay. Next, we pay for our membership. So checkout and process. So here's where we specify, have they paid yet? Yes or no. Donations is always defaults to yes. You don't get asked that. Events and membership, you can allow a person to go into debt with your organization, thus saying no. But in this case, it's yes. Discount code. refers once again back to configuration discounts, configure discounts, where you can basically create coupon codes. And this is where you'd apply that. Next, mode of payment, cash, check, credit card, what have you. Next here is check number, or cash would be receipt number, or credit card would be transaction ID. So if you process this through Square or Intuit or some secondary processor, not through Nonprofit Easy, then you can put the ID and you can specify what kind of card it was. If you've signed up with the Bluefin Payment Gateway or have one of the older grandfathered ones in that we still partially support, you can actually go process CC now and enter in the credit card information so that when you hit process, it will charge the card, record the membership, and the money will be moved. Pretty cool. So in case you're not aware of it, Bluefin is the payment gateway processor we currently work with. We've got a pretty good deal with them. 2.99% per transaction fee, flat fee in that regard. So just the 2.99%. And there's no monthly fee, annual fee, setup fee, no other fees. So even if you never use it, you aren't spending any money. So I highly recommend it. It's got a lot of functionality that other services that we've worked with in the past do not have. Thank you for that, Kasia. Yeah. So no, they're pretty good. I like working with them. They've been pretty responsive. Kasia was just commenting they've got good customer service, and yeah, we've got a pretty good relationship with them. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot us an email at support. You can also email support@bluefin.com, and they might be able to answer some questions. Otherwise, to sign up for them, just go to settings, payment gateway settings. But I'm getting off topic, so my apologies. So once we enter in our payment information, so let's say he paid by check. Here's our check number. Now we say how much did he pay with this check? So if he only paid part now, then we could specify that much. And date of payment is the date on which you sent this payment to the bank. So this is supposed to reconcile with your bank records. So maybe I didn't process that payment. Well, okay, I'll just put today. So I put, oh no, since we are going back in time, I need to backdate that. And then we hit process. So now the membership is under membership details, the payment is under financials, and he has been made a member. Pretty cool. So how do we renew memberships? Well, we get a couple choices. We can either renew it from the membership or we can do it from batch renewal. So let's start from here. So let's say around this time, actually, a child, Adam, would like to renew his membership. He's a little early, no problem there. His membership has not yet expired. It is still active. He has not become an ex-member. So if someone's membership ever expires, the valid till pet date passes, they automatically become an ex-member. That's cool. So membership details, edit. And here's his membership. So what we want to do is we do not want to add a new membership. We want to renew his existing one. If we add another membership, it looks like he has two separate memberships, and it's going to throw off your reports a little bit. If we renew it, it looks like two links for one membership. So I like to explain memberships as a chain. Think of it as a physical chain. Maybe even a chain of paper clips if you want. So it's a chain where each renewal is a link in the chain. So the whole membership plus all the renewals represents a chain. It's a history where each link represents an individual renewal or change in that membership. So we want to maintain that chain. If we add a new membership, we create a whole new chain. And so it causes confusion. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you renew your memberships and you do not create a new chain. And we're going to talk about cancellations in a little bit and what that does to a chain. So, okay, he's got an individual membership. Let's renew it. So we click on Renew Change, and we choose. We either can renew his membership, so his current membership will continue as it is on the new date, pushing into the future. Change says he's gone from individual to something else. Maybe he got married and wants to give it to his spouse. So he might change it to a family membership, in which case the renewal date will change to today's date, and whether or not we did the apply unused portion will kick in. You can always, when you change a membership, push it to the future if you want to, but generally speaking, renew or change will start a new date, and that's what Katia was asking about earlier. Okay, so let's just renew our membership. Renewal, next. Next, we will specify, as we did before, the registration date and the transaction date. Aha, notice these are different. So we renew on the 1st because that's the day after his membership ends, but we're paying today. So if I had a promotion at my organization that ended on the 31st of July, he's still getting the deal because his transaction date is today, the day he's paid me. Okay. And the rest of this is exactly as before. What benefits is he getting? Any promotions? Check out and process. How did he pay? Check number. He went backwards. Date of payment. When's it going to the bank? And process. And here we have it. His membership started originally on this date. His last renewal was on this date. His current end date is this date, and we can see a history. Now what happens if you make a mistake? Well, you can void. So void tells us that we made a mistake. So for example, what happens if we added 2 memberships by accident? So let's say I didn't successfully renew the membership, I just accidentally added a new membership. So we have 2 chains, and that's going to throw off reporting. So what do? Well, we void one. So we go just like with the donations. You can void anytime you have a complete data entry mishap, you void out. So it's beyond what we can fix with editing. We have to truly and completely get rid of it. So we find our entry we need to get rid of, and we hit void. We give a reason for the void, so data entry, for example, and we specify whether or not we're going to credit the payment to the record. Default is no, unless you want to use the money that you entered for something else. I would leave it as no. Even if you do, just enter in the payment information fresh. Credit's a cool feature, but it can get a little tricky sometimes. So generally just leave this as no. However, if this membership was, for example, meant to be a donation, you might say yes, and then when you enter a donation, you will use the credit on their account to pay off the donation. If you're like most organizations and run a zero-sum kind of a accounting ledger for your contacts, just leave it as no. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and submit, and it voids out the membership. Ta-da! Voided. The question arises now of what this button does. This cancel button is, so if you ever want to, excuse me, back up. If you ever want to edit a membership and just make adjustments to either one of the renewals or to the original, that's where this pencil icon comes in. So lets me go into the membership and make changes, but my changes are somewhat limited in that there's certain things I cannot fix. Oh, give me 1 second here. Can you leave me your keys? Yeah. Just in case. Okay. Okay. So when we click on that edit button, it lets us edit the original membership, and it also lets us edit the renewals and see payment history and so on and so forth. So if I want to see the renewal, I can edit it and go even deeper. Okay. So cancel. What I want to mention before we move on is this cancel button. Cancel means this membership chain is terminated. You're going to normally only do this if, one, the person has moved away, far, far away, and they've told you, cancel my membership, I will never renew, ever. Or if the person passes and has no surviving spouse to transfer the membership to. Generally speaking, don't use cancel. Either let the membership lapse naturally, override the end date, or void it as appropriate. Otherwise, you've ended the chain permanently. Void means this never happened. So the question is, how is this different from a void? Void basically says this transaction was entered as a mistake. This transaction doesn't actually exist. Our accountant would look at this and say, I don't see anything. Cancel means this did happen, but we have ended it. We have ended it prematurely, and we will never renew this membership ever. So your accountant looks at it and says, yes, there was a membership there. I don't care that it's ended, but there was a membership there. Money has come in. Canceled means money was received, but the membership was ended prematurely and will never continue. Void means no money actually came in. This was a mistake. This shouldn't exist. And basically think of void as delete, although we don't actually delete. Yeah, no problem. One thing I want to mention here is if you have married spouses sharing a membership, so you have, say, A. Child Adams and Mrs. Adams, Mrs. Morticia Adams, then, and one of them, an A. Child Adams passes on, and he's the primary member. What you can actually do is when you would renew the membership from her record, and you can transfer the primary membership owner status from his record to hers, so that going forward you can renew the membership. This doesn't come up too often. It's the only case that you can change who the primary member is. So primary member is just like donor. It's basically the person who gets to write it off for tax purposes. It's usually helpful to kind of ask the person who the primary member is. But in the cases of couples, you can move the primary membership when the primary member passes on. You would just renew the membership from the secondary member's contact, so the spouse's contact who's still surviving, and then it will take control from the primary member. Did that clarify, Katya? You'd ask me to repeat it? Yes, okay, yeah. It doesn't come up too often, but it is possible. So if you ever have couples that one's passed, renew from the surviving member. All right. So we've covered configuration, entry, editing, including voiding and canceling. So let's talk a little bit about batch gift entry. Batch renewal. Batch renewal lets you renew a bunch of memberships all at once. So what you'll do is you say, okay, I've got these memberships that end maybe in a certain date range. So I'll specify my date range, hit go. And so here's the list of all the memberships that have ended and not renewed for that date range. And so now, as I get the payments, I can go, okay, this person's renewing. They paid in this way. Here's their, any reference number. So check number, for example, too many. You can actually toss on an additional donation to it. Don't see that too often. And you can even change it, and then you can go renew selected, or you can just go down the list. So I can go change renew and say I'm going to change it next. So you can actually have the screens in this way. Some people prefer this. And then so on and so forth. Or I can just, fill in my information, renew selected. And so now that membership is renewed, and here's our confirmation. We check over it, confirm renewals. So just a quick way to do a bunch of renewals all at once. But if there's anything too complicated with the renewals, like a lot of overrides, I might start going into them manually. But at this time, there is no way to put a string of membership numbers. So the question was if you could search by the renewals by membership number. You can put one membership number at a time. I don't have any way to do like a bulk search by membership number in this way. So in that case, you would use a date range. Okay. Any other questions about batch renewal? Okay, so that's batch renewal, and let's wrap up with just a little bit of reporting. So we're going to go to reports, unless I forgot anything. No, it's all there. And we do have some membership reports that are predefined. I actually don't know what the criteria on these, like most predefined reports. I usually prefer to make my own. So in custom reports, let's no, I was going to see if I had a report I could use as to recycle, but so let's just create a report and let's talk about some of the criteria. So NPE test. So the first criteria is contact type. Specifically, contact type is member, or contact type is ex-member. Member will find all currently active members. If their membership has not expired, then use member. If you want to find all currently expired members, use ex-member. But if we want to be more specific, we can use the criteria under memberships, and we got a lot of them. So just skimming through a couple of the important ones is all the ones here at the bottom, generally speaking, not all of them, but we have all the payment information. So payment date, mode, payment status, so if they paid or not, pricing category, where's the other one? Transaction number, transaction source, so if it was online, backend, stuff like that. So those are important. But what you're probably mostly interested in is things like end date, and where is it? Membership where is it? I've got so many in here, I lose track. Registration renew date and renew date. So registration renew date represents the date when the first membership was, or first, hold on, let me say that again. The registration renew date represents the date of the first registration or the or a renewal. So it's basically a start date for a membership. We also have end date, which tells the current end date of the chain of that membership. The, where is it? Renew date tells us when the next membership should start. And then we have last membership payment date to say when was the last time they paid for a membership. And I think there's one more, should be one more date one. No, I think that's it. So basically, to do your various reports, mostly it's a combination therein. So for example, if I wanted to report of all the people who have expired this month and still have not paid, we would do something such as, let's see, we would probably do something like end date is in this month date range, and membership status is inactive. For example, would give you everybody who ends this month and has not paid yet. Another thing I sometimes see people do is I want to see everybody who's expiring in this date range but hasn't paid in a while, but hasn't paid yet. So that's where last payment date will come into play. So I want to see everybody who paid, in the last month. Okay. So it's mostly date range ones that you will find yourself playing with, but as you can see, we have a lot of things in here, so we can look at discount codes, when did they first gain their first membership, member since date, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and see everybody whose membership, let's see everybody who's registered, oh, that's cost, I always do that. Renewal date is after the first of the year. Okay. So we have 4 report views that might be pertinent. Individual and organization, as always, they're going to be like every time you talk about something, those will be options. Whether or not you just want to see a list of individuals or a list of organizations, good for making mailing lists. Next is the membership report view. which is specifically to look at the chain of that membership. So if you want to see the status of the entire chain right now, you'd use your membership report view. This is where you don't want to start breaking up a membership into multiple chains. For example, I mentioned how if you just hit the add button and don't renew it, you'll get multiple memberships, kind of different chains. It'll look like different chains here. When you change a membership, it'll show up as a new chain in this report, though, by the way. Membership transaction report view is to see each individual chain, every individual renewal and change and initial membership will show up in this one. This is the kind of report you would use to give to your accountant, for example. So membership report view is probably what you're going to be using, or you might use individual org, one of these three, to do kind of a membership roster kind of thing. Member transaction report view is what you'd use maybe for a financial report. In addition to the standard options and fields and stuff like that, include primary members only. So you remember earlier you can share a membership to other people. This option would say only show me the primary member. So if I'm sharing a membership from myself to my wife, only I would show. Okay. So reports in a nutshell. So any questions?